Guys, and welcome to the 13th episode of Becoming Well Read. It's a video series where I talk about one of the books I've recently read in an attempt to become well read. And if you missed the 12th part, well, last time we spoke about Stephen King's Night Shift, but in this episode we are going to talk about Politically Correct Holiday Stories by James Finn Garner. This book, it's a bit small, but it attempts to retell Christmas stories in a way that is more politically correct. However, this often leads to humorous results. So I'm just going to go over the stories really quickly. The first is 'Twas the Night Before Solstice, and what happens here is Santa Claus tries to go into the person's house and leave the toys, but he gets caught by the dad. Just like the original one, but the dad in this one doesn't like any of the toys that he wants to leave his kids. He thinks they're sexist or that they're not good enough for his kids, and that they would lead to materialism and other things that he doesn't really want to instill in his kids. I did not like the way the dad was acting, even though I understood what the dad was saying. It's sort of as if the dad took the political correctness, sort of made him like more cocky or better, sort of like in a stuck-up sort of way. And it's really funny because as Santa Claus left, he told the guy to get over himself, and I thought that was an appropriate response. The second story is Frosty the Person of Snow. But in this story, Frosty the Snowman gets together other snow people, I guess, and humans, and they march around Washington to try to stop global warming because he's melting. Kind of strange because he was going to melt anyway due to the seasons, but I guess he does live a shorter time due to global warming. Now, I agree that global warming is an issue that needs to be dealt with. Sometimes when people march and they don't really offer solutions, they just talk because they want change, it doesn't really help the situation. You have to say exactly what changes you want, and not hurting the environment or releasing CO2 emissions doesn't help the situation. The Nutcracker was kind of strange. It was like this uncle was giving his kids toys, and then the little girl had a dream. And I don't know, I felt like the family was really mean to the uncle because at first they were saying, oh, the toys are like a bit sexist, and then the uncle was like, it doesn't have to be this one to this kid and this one to this kid. It could be whatever. I really feel like people in this book are stuck up, but I think that's what he was trying to point out, that always being politically correct and that person makes you seem more of a snob than someone who's actually trying to, you know, be respectful. Then there's Rudolph the Nasally Empowered Reindeer. That story was actually the funniest because Santa needed help. He goes to Rudolph, and Rudolph starts making all these demands, like all the reindeer need holidays off. And of course, they can't get that because they only work one day a year, and it's a holiday. It was kind of ridiculous because it's important that workers have rights, but I don't necessarily think that Santa was a bad boss. You understand what I mean? And so I think that story might have been a bit too weird, a bit too far. Rudolph was very smart, and he did get the workers' pensions and some other things that they needed. And I felt like the reindeer got a bit too much, being that they worked only one night a year. They got dinner on the night they worked. There were always 4 backup reindeer if ever anything happened. They retired only at 8 years of age, and then they got full pensions afterward. That's how the story ends. In a way, I felt like that one was kind of strange, just because the reindeer did only work one day a year. The last story, A Christmas Carol, I think that's the biggest story in this book. It takes up the greatest chunk of this very small book, which I read, by the way, in December. I know I'm posting this in late January, but I read this back in December, and that one was the funniest because I always felt like Scrooge himself was a victim of the things that happened during his life. Yes, he was a Scrooge, and he was hard-ass with money, and he's an old man, but he had his ways, and he was set in his ways. He was very alone. He didn't really have people. He had family, but I felt like there was something missing. There has to be more to Scrooge, you know what I mean? And so reading this, actually, it's pretty funny because the ghost apparently made a mistake, and that wasn't the proper way to rehabilitate Scrooge. I think it made him more the way he already was, sort of more set in his ways. And that was actually pretty funny. That one was one of the ones I enjoyed the most in this collection. Do I recommend this? It's funny. All the stories here are funny. I think I would recommend it for something easy to read during the holiday season. But yeah, that's Politically Correct Holiday Stories by James Finn Gardner. And now we get to the point where I reveal the next book I will be reviewing or talking about here on this channel, and that is Uncle Tungsten by Oliver Sacks. But hopefully I'll make a video about this within the next 2 weeks. But till then, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below if you've read Night Shift or Politically Correct Holiday Stories or Uncle Tungsten. Let me know what you thought about these books. Let's have a conversation. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.